This is just an AMZN on Friday, June 18th, 2021. Take a look at the 5 minute here, and looks like we just had a bit of a distribution day. So really small daily candle. We just went up and down and up and down and up and came down a little bit. So pretty much you just sell at the high and buy at the low, and you're in a little channel here. So that's all we did today. Really small day compared to yesterday. A little bit bullish. So we've been bullish 3 days in a row here now, this one being, I think, the smallest, and I didn't even look at what the range was on the day. Let's see, today's range, 33.29. Okay, so that one's not too small. We had a small one here, about 33, another one here, about 33. So when we do these sideways days, 33 bucks is pretty much kind of the price we get into there. This one's a little smaller. This one, I think, okay, 35. So we had plenty of those through here. But those are a nice little small mix, small candle mixed in with these bigger ones. But take a look at the options then. It's like, well, what do we do? So I'm still looking at a week out. So this is next Friday's expiration. I've got the 3600 call and the 3400 put, and they move similar, obviously not the same. You don't have the same peaks like you had up here. You have that like this, oops, but we didn't get the dip in that same range here. And then we did dip down here, which this is kind of cool. It just barely took out that low with this candle. And so this was a really nice trapping candle, and then that ran up. And when we did that, I mean, it was this candle that actually was the one that was bearish, but then the next candle actually made a slightly higher high on the put than I think that even made on the 5 minute. And then these were pretty even here at a level above where the opening low was put in. And then we came back into that price here. So you had, what I drew just now on the, or just a minute ago on the 5 minute like that, you see that followed pretty closely. A little bit, that was bad. Up and down and up and down and up and down. So you came back into these lows multiple times, about the same price, which is what I really like to see, because it's telling you, okay, that's a good place to be setting up. And so if we zoom in on this, obviously we wouldn't necessarily be buying the first one right at the gate, but this would give us kind of a range to be looking at. So this is maybe, let's see, the low was 1075. So maybe getting in at like, even setting up for like 11 to buy at 11. I mean, that's the trouble, is if you were waiting to buy at 11, it didn't work. You may have had to wait for this one to come in and then hopefully set it up to get in on this candle if this was going to hold. You didn't know this was going to hold though. So I guess maybe you could buy this candle at 1150 with a stop down at 1050. I think that's kind of just putting out there, expecting it to bounce. I don't know you have that assurance right then. I do like the RSI. It's doing this double bottom thing, and it's putting in a little bit of a dip here, right here. I mean, it dipped a tiny bit here from this point. So you kind of have a double bottom on the RSI. And I've just been noticing that that is a bit of a signal that it's possibly going to be bouncing. You have the stat signal here on this part of the RSI here, and then you had it on this candle. So you had a candle early. As this candle started to go back up, you didn't know it was going to make this peak here. You didn't know it was going to continue going up there. So all that together, I guess I would say maybe be buying here on this candle. So that would be buying at 1185 for that close. So probably setting it up to buy like 12 by 11 and looking for that to bounce and not let it get down to this price. But even so, like we're a week out, and so we're not doing my typical this week's expiration, and so 8 hours doesn't work. Even if you bought at 12, and let's say you did that, you bought at 12, stop at 11, your target was only 3 hours. So this is something I've got to kind of revise a little bit and figure out, how's this going to work? What are targets going to be when we're in something like this, where we've got more time on the option, and it's just not going to move as quickly as we've had them move on the this week's expiration. So but that's one of the setups you could have done. And then that same, if you had traded this here, or even if you had seen it here and missed it, getting in at 12, stop at 11, it worked here. It gave you half an hour to get in. These are the ones I really like, where you have more time to get in, And sometimes during this time, you are second guessing yourself, and other times during that time, you're like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see it. I was in a meeting or something during this time." And then it's like, "Oh, it's still setting up, and now it's got a hammer. It looks even better." That kind of thing. And this one, you can even set this up in this candle for a stop limit of 12 and a stop down 11. Like that could work as long as you're not skipped over here. But then that also ran up to 15. Similarly, we had similar lows down here on the 3400 put. So we put in a low just above 13, came into 13 here, came into 13, now 1265 here. Each of those times, I mean, I don't know if you would have been able to buy this one, but this one from 13 on the nose ran up to 16, right? Well, I guess it eventually made it to 16, and then this one didn't get to 16. So the put didn't actually work as well with getting to 3R. So each of these would have made it to 2R. This would have made it to 2. This would have made it to 2. This one would have made it, well, if you got in at 13, let's see, maybe 1350. I guess maybe 1350. But then that one wouldn't have been 2Rs. So yeah, I guess it doesn't translate exactly as well. So I don't know if that one would have worked out, getting in at 1350 or waiting for a move back down to 13. You're buying through the flats through here on a pullback. You've left some of these signals behind for over here, but you had a better option price here when the RSI is on its way up. But it even continues making a new high over here after this one. So yeah, I don't know. That one doesn't fit quite as well. Let's take a peek. Let's look at how the 3500 put moved this week and 3500 call. I said that backwards because I'm looking at the put right now. This is Friday. That, right? And then so still with the 3500, which that's pretty much the price we trade around today. We didn't really get an 8R move, did we? Because we kind of did from here. Right? This went plenty more than 8 as this rolled over. Just trying to think if anything would have signaled that that was going to work. Yeah, a little bit of a double bottom going on. The RSI only got up a little bit with the bullish or with the on the call up here. This looks a little bit like it's, you know, indecisive for 15 minutes here. And it's like, oh, it's going to decide to go down. At that point, it's going up. And you did have an opportunity to buy in a pullback. So could you have? This range, these candles are a little bit too large, a little larger than a dollar. Couldn't just bracket that. It pulled back basically into the middle of this candle, that low, I guess, like 1150, but that wouldn't have, you couldn't do 1150 there and then 1050 here, because that, I mean, that would have been well more than a dollar risk. So yeah, I don't know if 3500 is the one that we would have been trading. I wonder if 3475, oops, gotta type it right, 3475, how that worked. So that had some smaller candles in here and it skyrocketed. And then, so buying at like 3 and getting out at 11, that could have worked. But then, yeah, it just plummeted here and then looked like it was going to work again and then didn't. I was like ending a Friday on the same strike, and I don't know which strike that would have been. So we'll see 3490, how that one moved. This, you had some smaller candles. This could have worked. Let's see what this did. 3490. Here, pull back some smaller candles. Yeah, it's possible. That would have been really tough to hold through that. Like you think it's going to bounce and then it just goes all the way to zero. Because yeah, it closed out of the money for the call, closed in the money by a few bucks for the put. So this is one of those where it's like, okay, if you buy it like 50 cents and you flip it for 400 bucks, like well, $50 to $400. Like that's a nice gain, but those are hard to plan out just because it's basically a gamble. You don't know if it's going to work or not. But that's also part of what you do for an absolute zero setup. So yeah, I think we're going to keep looking a week out. So next week's videos, I'll start looking at probably the January 2nd, maybe beyond that. We'll see how the volume is for those. And there's another holiday coming up in a couple of weeks in the US. Yeah, from here, I mean, if we rest a little bit today, we could keep on going next week, get up and make a new all-time high. We are a stone's throw away at this point. We could also turn this into a bigger evening star reversal and at least come back and retest some of this, retest this gap from above. That's possible too. So we've been on a really nice rally here. It does look very similar to what we did before, where we had some consolidation and then we ran up for a while. And then we, after a run up, let's see, let's say let's call these candles the same. So this hammer here and this hammer here. And so we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then we went sideways. We are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 candles in. So we could go a couple more. We can make a new all-time high and then go sideways and just rest. That's entirely possible too. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Hope this helps. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.